Hi everyone, my name is Bianca Perez, and I'm here to answer your questions about being a lawyer. I'm currently a content author at UWorld, working on developing our online bar prep course. You all sent in so many great questions about what it takes to work in this field, and I'm excited to answer some of those questions for you. So let's get started. How is the reality of being a lawyer different from what you thought it would be? So I think the biggest thing is that being a lawyer is nowhere near as exciting or sexy as it is on TV. Shows like How to Get Away with Murder, Law and Order, they're very entertaining, but often they're not realistic. Most of the time, you being a lawyer, the practice of law just happens in your office. You know, you're reviewing documents, you're talking to clients, a lot of emails, a lot of paperwork. So it can be a little shocking to know that it's not as exciting as you may think. There's also a lot more writing involved than you would think. And I know I keep saying writing, but that's because that's probably the number one skill that you're gonna employ every day being a lawyer. Is it easy to switch between areas of law? So while you're in law school and the first few years of practice, yes, absolutely, you want to get as much exposure to different areas of the law as you can. So especially in law school, branch out with your internships, in college as well. Just expose yourself to as many fields as possible just to get a feel of what you like. Even in the first few years of practice, you may think that you're dead set on one area of law and then come to find out that it's not really what you thought it was and you don't really like it, and that's okay. So for the first few years, I would definitely say that's the time to move around, to learn what interests you, and to learn what you're good at. But after a certain period of time, it really is in your best interest to focus on one or just a few areas of law. So that way that you can really hone your craft, because there are so many areas of law out there. It's impossible for one attorney to be competent in every single area of the law and be able to take on any case. Your value really comes when you find your area of law that you like, you get really good at it, and people start knowing you as the attorney who does that area of law. What is the most rewarding part of being a lawyer? Honestly, one of the most rewarding things about being a lawyer is being able to use your skills and to use the things that you spent so long preparing for to help someone else. Lawyers wield a lot of influence, they have a lot of power, and to be able to use that for good and to help people is really rewarding. So even small things like helping someone navigate a complicated court form that seems, it takes an attorney 5-10 minutes, that could really make a difference to someone who didn't know what to do before that. And it's really rewarding to see, also to work with a client from start to finish on a case. Legal cases take a long time. So from the time that you hire an attorney till you see the resolution of your case can be years, 2, 5, 10 years, depending on how complex the case is. So it's really rewarding to have a client from day one and to stay with them and work with them on a case and to get them to the outcome that they were looking for. That's really rewarding. Would you recommend this career for sensitive people? Yeah, I think this career is a good option for anyone, really, and even if you are sensitive. Honestly, I think that the area of law could really benefit from people who are compassionate, who are empathetic, who really want to help people and do good. I would just say that it's really important early on, like I said, to set boundaries in your work and to make sure that you're taking the time to take care of yourself, especially for someone who is sensitive, who's more empathetic. It can be really easy to get personally invested in every case or to internalize every bad outcome that you have. So if you can develop those skills and kind of keep a distance while still maintaining that empathy and that compassion, that's really important. Do you have any advice or tips for students aspiring to a career in law? So it helps to have a solid plan in place when you're applying or before you decide on a law school. If you know that area that you want to stay in. Maybe you want to apply to those local law schools and see if you can get scholarships. You want to plan out for if you do have to take out a loan, you want to be prepared for what that loan payment is going to look like after you graduate. If you don't plan on necessarily going into an area of law that makes a lot of money, like corporate law, you want to know that going into it so that you don't go to the most expensive law school that is going to require you to take out a lot of loans. But whatever you do, it's just important to plan ahead of time. How do you handle cases that directly conflict with your personal values? So at the end of the day, as an attorney, your job is to represent your client to the best of your ability. So you often do have to put aside your personal feelings or your personal beliefs. There are some instances if you think a case is so morally against or so morally repugnant or against your values, there are limited cases where you may be able to withdraw, but really you need to have a sense of who you are and what your values are before you start practicing, if possible. So, for example, if you really value the justice system and you think that everyone deserves the right to a defense and the right to a fair trial, then knowing that before you get in and start defending people, it helps keep some perspective and to realize that you are there for a very important reason. You're helping someone or you're upholding someone's constitutional rights. So even if you don't necessarily want to be friends with your client, it's about doing your job the best you can to help your client. So you don't necessarily have to agree with your client at the end of the day. You guys don't have to be best friends, but it is important to remember that your client's needs have to come before your own. That's all the time we have for questions. I hope this was helpful. Everyone at UWorld wishes you all the best in your future careers, and good luck.